Okay, welcome back to the FPL show. Just a quick reminder, you can follow us on all these various platforms. One was Sports Radio platforms. The most important one is the YouTube there. Please do subscribe. FPL Game Week 21. We're in the middle of Game Week 20, but we look forward to the weekend's fixtures. The big issue, I think, for FPL managers right now is finding that right midfield combination to get you going through, especially with the injuries that are happening around. Kevin De Bruyne is out, and obviously from a forward perspective, Jamie Vardy's out. So that poses a problem for people. Myself, I had both De Bruyne and Vardy. It was just ridiculous. And then obviously Mo Salah's scoring form in the Premier League hasn't been up to scratch. Bruno Fernandes hasn't been scoring a lot of goals. So the question is, what does one do? I'll tell you what I did. I kept on the check, which is great because the check is just seemingly scoring. And I made a couple of adjustments. I think I brought Bruno in because I kind of felt that he'll still get me numbers. I kept Mo Salah. I don't know if it's time to sell Mo Salah. Maybe you guys can tell me. But I'm just trying to figure out. Oh, and then I brought a City player in, and I think that's where the intriguing part of it is. You just kind of figure out which City player is the one who's going to get a lot of game time in this period. I went Phil Foden. I think guys went Ilkay Gundogan because he's looking very good, but I feel as though it might be just a spring fling. But we'll chat about that. So, gents, have you been affected by these injuries or this drop in form or anything else, team?
Yeah, so I mean, I think probably about 4 million FPL managers were affected by De Bruyne getting injured. And last show I was very loud and boisterous about my new 3-5-2 formation, and it's going to be great, and get rid of those strikers. Now De Bruyne is gone, and you sit exactly what you said. You're sitting with that conundrum of who to bring in. So I've also left Souček in. So the only worry is I only had Stones from a City perspective for their win against West Brom, but as I said on the last show, Gundogan is definitely the guy that I would probably bring in from a City perspective. He's playing the most. Guy's playing the best football in the Premier League he's probably played ever, and he's definitely scoring the goals. So I think he's the direct replacement. What I did actually was replace De Bruyne with Maddison. So I think Maddison's he's the one that's going to start. He's already done it in the previous 3 or 4 matches, but I think he can really push on from here. And even though Vardy's not there, he does still have guys like Barnes and things like that running around him. So looking at assists, he's on those free kicks, he's on corners. So from that perspective, he's looking good. But I will look to get Gundogan coming in. The only issue is I've now got a great midfield 5. And you've got about £7 million in the bank to spend because you got rid of De Bruyne. So who do you bring? So I'm probably going to go back to getting another striker and bringing Antonio in or something like that. So
I went that route. So my question was, I think it was either I picked Harvey Barnes. In one of the iterations, I was considering either Harvey Barnes or Maddison. I went with Harvey Barnes. But then because I had so much money left, I could bring in a striker. So my issue, and I spoke with everyone last week about Antonio. So I brought in Mikel Antonio. The problem was I had 3 West Ham players all in the line: Kufal, Antonio, and Souček. So I had to be a little bit creative with my formations just to make sure that I minimize the risk of in case David Moyes becomes David Moyes again. So AB, what would you consider this week? Did you have any issues like the rest of us? Even though
no, I'm second now. Dino's overtaken me. I'm not angry about it. So I'm just disappointed in Pep. So I had full Foden, and I was tossing between Foden and Gundogan. But again, I think Foden, for some reason, is subject to Pep rotation. So I've literally just transferred Foden out now for Gundogan. But if you are looking, and I'm all about these budget guys, if you are looking for a budget midfielder who plays a lot, will probably hopefully not get points this week, but in future is Emil Smith-Rowe. Kid is 4.5 mil. He's playing well. He's a great player. Hopefully, he'll come to United one day because he wants to win trophies.
Why must you be like this?
Yeah.
Why not Bukayo Saka? Speaking about Arsenal players, right? Arsenal's on this run.
United will take both. It's fine.
I'm talking about the FPL team, dude. FPL.
Yeah.
Bukayo Saka is 5.1. Surely not him.
No, he is. Smith-Rowe is cheaper, though. That's the only.
Oh, yeah. So the other question I want to know is it time to consider an Arsenal attacking player? I know Aubameyang's not available, but from a striking perspective, Lacazette, he's been on form scoring. There's some points because I kind of feel there are some points being left on the table from an FPL perspective because people aren't looking at Arsenal. Is it time? I know you don't have Arsenal players, Dean, but think about other people's children.
I definitely think it probably could be time. And I think Lacazette is probably the one guy that I would probably, if I was not such a loyal fan to Spurs, I'd probably be looking to bring Laka in. And, you can always leave it up to Arsenal fans to come up with the most cringe-worthy sequence. Because I saw somewhere on Twitter it was Zaka, Laka, Saka, or whatever it was, combination.
Shaka, Laka, Saka.
Yeah, it's literally terrible blood, So from an attacking perspective, I'd probably be looking to get him in. As you mentioned, Aubameyang's looking a bit, well, no one actually knows what's actually going on, so it's a bit worrying there. But yeah, I will never bring in an Arsenal player, so I can't even say what the prices are of guys, but you can look at Saka or Emil Smith-Rowe from a cheap perspective, but now that everyone's got funds to spare, if you're looking for that differential, probably go out and splash the cash on someone a little bit more premium.
Yes, I kind of felt that way with Souček because I had a lot of money and I was like, "Ooh, should I keep him out for like a match?" Yeah. AB, DCL, you've been a big DCL fan. He's back from injury. He scored in the FA Cup. Is it time to bring him back in? Also, with that question, when are we selling Patrick Bamford? I want to know. I don't know what I have to do with this.
Guys, okay, so I've got Bamford. Obviously, I sold DCL back in the day, but I honestly don't know what to do with Bamford. He's killing me. He's literally just
59 minutes. 59 minutes yesterday. Can't even get 2 points.
So
Marcelo killing everyone's fantasy.
Yeah.
So look, I think if you're considering DCL, just wait a moment. Just wait until after they've played Leicester, see how it goes, because then they've got Newcastle. And we all know Newcastle are just, Steve Bruce doesn't know what he's doing. It's shitty. And then they've got Leeds again. So there's going to be goals galore in that game. But then they come to United, then they go to Fulham, then they go to Liverpool. It's a stuff up. So I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what to do with these strikers. This is the worst. Literally, this is the worst season for having a striker. You don't know who to pick. Obviously, you've got Kane because he's Harry Kane. But then who are your other two? It's a nightmare. I've got Bamford and Wilson from Newcastle. So just goes to show I'm stretching here. I'm not 100% happy with these striking options. And if you look at the guys who are top of the table, the City, the United, the Leicester, all three of them don't have a fit striker, who's scoring goals. Okay, so Jamie Vardy is obviously scoring great goals, but he's not fit now. Liverpool don't have a striker. United don't have a striker. It's weird. It's a horrible place to be.
Everything's in the midfield, and so that's where the issue comes in. My other concern and the thing I was trying to figure out is Rashford worth it as a differential, or should I go for Paul Pogba from a Manchester United perspective?
I would personally go with Paul Pogba. I think he'll accumulate a bit more bonus points than Rashford. Although, that being said, Rashford does love a big game. And with Arsenal, this coming week, Rashford loves them. We all know he scored his double there when he was 12? I don't know. He was so young. It was embarrassing. Arsenal, absolutely embarrassing. But yeah, Rashford does love a big game. He loves playing Liverpool. But yeah, so it's a toss-up because Paul Pogba's been in sublime form, but when he goes out wide, it's almost as if he doesn't look like he's affecting the game as much. He's, round peg and square holes, and he's always on the run, so he's a little bit more tired. Yeah, I'd pick Pogba if Ollie's going to play Pogba in centre. Also because he's cheaper, so he's probably going to give you more value than Rashford, who may or may not be assisting the assists sometimes.
Okay. So is it time, Dean, to consider a 4-5-1 instead of a 3-5-2?
Yeah.
I definitely think it is. And that's the thing now. Everyone's got spare cash. So, it's a little bit different from the beginning of the season where we didn't see clean sheets coming around and things like that. So the one thing that I do think now is you've got the money and there's definitely ample reason to go out and get those premium defenders like Cancelo. You can't, you have to get Cancelo if you've got some spare cash, go and get the guy. He's playing, he's getting up front, and he's going to carry on doing it. So you're looking at those guys, and even someone, I saw after last night's game, Cresswell has overtaken, I think it was Robertson, as the highest scoring FPL defender. So looking at stuff like that, you can definitely look at bolstering your defense now with a little bit more options and guys that are going to keep clean sheets. And you're looking at City, probably looking at some United guys. I'd still be a bit hesitant about getting Luke Shaw in. Just something about it doesn't feel quite right to click transfer Luke Shaw confirm. But yeah, I think
Aaron Wan-Bissaka. It's just like you're like, but what am I getting?
Yeah, it does feel weird, and I think as with the times, you have to just embrace how bad or how weird it might feel. And yeah, even from a Spurs perspective, if you're looking at some of their defenders, someone like Aurier is playing out of his boots as well. So the run of games aren't that bad that we've got coming up. So he's even an option. So 4-5-1 is probably the better option to go with now. And then as soon as De Bruyne comes back, I'd probably switch it up and then try and play it back, come back. But that's only in 6 weeks' time. So don't worry about it. By then, we'll probably have a fifth wave of the pandemic and the world will be a different place. So don't worry about that then.
Okay. Because obviously I had to use my wild card because of those two injuries. Damn it. But yeah. So how do you captain now with this dearth of talent? So next week, on the weekend, you've got Everton, Newcastle, Palace, Wolves, City, Sheffield, West Brom, Fulham, Arsenal, Manchester United, Southampton, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Burnley, Leicester, Leeds, West Ham, Liverpool, which is a tasty top of the table clash, and Brighton, Spurs. Do you just go Harry Kane or Son and just leave it at that and just close up shop? Or is there anything else that you can find?
Triple Captain Edison. There you go. 18 points done.
I don't think you can look past the City guy playing Sheffield. Especially what they did against West Brom, you can't look past them. So someone like Cancelo also probably, you're looking at something about it just always feels weird about captaining into defender because it takes a split second of them not concentrating, stupid goal, whatever, and boom, you go from, like AB says, 15, 12 plus points to 4.
I'll say that to the Transference captains in the double game week because that was fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, those guys are the bravest ones out there. So I'll take my hat off to the guys that captain them. But yeah, I think for the safe option, probably Kane captain, I reckon. Brighton.
So obviously there'll be guys who are alternative trying to claw back points, and they'll probably will have a Sterling inside there. Do you consider a Sterling as a captaincy option, especially after the West Brom game?
I think if guys went from De Bruyne to Sterling, that's obviously your choice. If you've made that transfer, if you've had Sterling in your team, you'll probably go that way. If you're looking at some other differentials, though, you kind of have to look at. I'd be very interested to see what Tuchel does at Chelsea tonight. And because we all was talking about that little bump, in form that they're going to get, they're playing Burnley. So, maybe Timo, maybe Havertz, one of those guys it might be worth a shot seeing if one of them can do something. Bring them
So
in.
whoever he starts tonight,
Yeah.
Against Wolves, kind of
See,
extrapolate
yeah.
that and say maybe. So if it's
Like-
Tammy Abraham, put in that 7 that Tammy Abraham inside there.
Like ride the good times, you know, ride the good times, ride the bubble, and see what happens. That's the way. If you're not at the top of your log or you're trying to gain some points, you have to look at these quick little ways you can, you know, gain quick traction. So that might be one of them.
Mm-hmm. AB, are you having a captaincy headache like the rest of us?
It has to be between someone from City, be it Gundogan, be it your Cancelos or your Edisons, guys, you know who's going to start, versus the Harry Kane or Son issue. It's weird. I want to see how Son and Kane play against Liverpool, and I know it's tough to compare, but if they win against Liverpool, they are going to run riot at Brighton.
Mm.
If they draw, it might be a bit more edgy because they don't want to draw back-to-back games. So these tonight's and tomorrow's fixtures are really critical for both games because, yeah, you know, you always feel awkward captaining a defender or a keeper, and I don't want to do that because, yeah, Sheffield may go and score 3 goals, and then, oh my word.
Watch Brewster come on, score a hat trick.
Well, I think from my perspective, I think since Everton's playing Newcastle, I think if DCL plays a full 90, I'd consider captaining him. I don't think he's in my team. I might have to panel beat it to get him in, but I think DCL could be an option if you want to bring him in as a differential. Yeah, guys, I think let's end it there. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you very much to the viewers and the listeners on the podcast for following us. Remember, just these different platforms, please engage with us on there, and also our Twitter handles are there at the bottom. All I can say is enjoy the football. There's a lot of football. It's coming thick and fast. Enjoy it. Have a great time. These 10 p.m. kickoffs are kicking me, but it's still good enough to watch. So thanks, Dean. Thanks, AB. And to everyone else who's watching, thank you very much. And Lesale Kakakis.